Bob Hilton. I'm from Northern Virginia. My family's from Cincinnati. The car's from Cincinnati. Been coming to Bowling Green for about 35 years. Got involved with hot rod reunions through my son, my father. Been drag racing for about 35 years. This car here is a Lynwood Chassis 1960 drag car. It's got a fuel-burning Oldsmobile in it, 394 Olds. It's got a 30 Bantam body on it. Would have been called a competition coupe in 1960. My brother has a collection of cars in Cincinnati, and we acquired it through an estate and did a lot of work to it to kind of restore it. But it's a running car. We'll run it at vintage drag races, similar to a vintage sprint car race where they don't make full competition runs, but it's more of a display runs. Smoking the tires like these cars would have done in 1960. Yes. Smoking the tires at the finish line.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. It's a 1960 394 Olds. It's stroked. This motor right now, it's a 671 supercharger, got 2-port Hilburn on it, but it's built period correct. This is exactly how it had been in 1960. This motor here for this weekend has nitro in it. It's got about 85% nitromethane load in it. It'll put on a good show for them. You know, this motor in 60 would have made about 1,000 horsepower, 900, yeah. The Oldsmobiles were traditionally a very torquey motor. They have a real long rod in them, a lot of stroke, so they're a pretty torquey motor. They were a very traditional race car motor in the 60s. Well, I mean, it's a slingshot is what it would be called, you know what I mean? It's a slingshot. The driver sits behind the rear axle. It's wire wheels in the front. This is a very early dragster, man. I mean, before this, there wasn't really, it's probably one of the first 5 years of a drag car. So, slicks on the back, man, wire wheels on the front, car weighs about 2,000 pounds. And that's a steel body that was cut up, chopped, doors welded shut. You know, a 25 or 30-year-old kid would have built in the 60s to drag race. That motor, stock that Oldsmobile weigh about 900 pounds. So it's all okay, it's a chunk of cast iron, man. Yeah, and it's got a big Olds, 57 Olds rear end in it. High gear, no transmission.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's got a 410 gear in it, and you let the clutch out and go. It's a pretty traditional car. I mean, it shows real good progression through the rest of these cars, which is what they're trying to do here, you know, really, is show progression of the history of this sport.
And where did it get its name from, Little Honker?
My dad had an Alter, not quite this car, but one very similar in probably 60, and that's just what they called it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Car gets a lot of attention, a lot because of its name and just the shape, the size, the look. It has all period parts. It's like all that drives, Isky drive, Isky front drive, moon front cover. You know, I mean, it's all period vintage parts. Yeah.